the teachers' union chief. Randi Weingarten claims an 8th grade teacher read The Diary of Anne Frank to her students, and she was fired for it. Nick Giordano is the political science professor at Suffolk Community College and joins me now. All right, Nicholas, it's your job to tell me what really happened with this teacher.
Well, it's perfect timing because my son is in 8th grade and I just got him Diary of Anne Frank 2 weeks ago to read because I think it's an important story to hear about the horrors of the Holocaust as well as see it through the prism of Anne Frank. This was a graphic adaptation of Anne Frank's diary, and that's where it becomes a problem. When we look at it, the illustrations take away from the content. It weakens and cheapens Anne Frank. And these are 8th graders. They don't need a picture book to help them along. They're not in 1st or 2nd grade. They should be reading the content and using their brains to visualize what took place, because that helps them to critically think. This whole controversy could have been avoided simply by using common sense. Why select The Diary of Anne Frank, a graphic adaptation, as opposed to the standard Diary of Anne Frank that most 8th graders will read?
But Randi Weingarten distorted the story by simply saying The Diary of Anne Frank, she read it in class, she was fired. That completely distorts the story.
Absolutely, and she's doing that on purpose to make it as if there's really book bans going on where they're trying to redefine what the word ban means. I mean, listen, all they had to do was pull this book from the students and just give them the regular Anne Frank book that we all read in 8th grade, and the problem would have been resolved. But Randi Weingarten is trying to elevate it to a bigger issue because they're fighting hard for all these books, this content that shouldn't be taught to children as the education system's collapsing. And that's the crazy part. You know, at Campus Reform, we've been reporting that our education system is in a lot of trouble. Students are behind where they should be. Logan Dubel just wrote a report for us where students can't write anymore. They can't critically think. 77% of Americans can't name more than one freedom in our First Amendment. And Randi Weingarten wants to focus on this as she destroyed the education system through the 2-year shutdown with COVID.
I'm sure you saw this. I need your comment. Republican Senator John Kennedy read from several explicit books that he'd found inside public school libraries. The author of one of those books is responding. The author of the book Gender Queer said, and I'm quoting now, "Gender Queer is a comic and in full colour, but that doesn't mean it's for children. I originally wrote it for my parents and then for older teens who were already asking these questions about themselves. I do not recommend this book for kids." Even the author says it's not for kids, but it was in public school libraries.
Parents have it so difficult today because our children are being inundated with explicit material day in, day out that's totally inappropriate. I mean, you know, there's a book called Lawn Boy where you have 4th graders, 10-year-olds, providing oral sex to each other. It is sick and disturbing, and they found it in public...
Was that in a school library?
Absolutely. It's been in public school libraries, and parents have complained and got them taken off the shelves. The amazing part is that when parents show up to school board meetings reading some of this material, the school board shuts them down, saying, you can't read that here, it's totally inappropriate, but we're going to pretend it's okay for children to read these books? Yeah. You come read these passages on air. That's how explicit.
And then the parents are branded as book banners.
Correct.
Which is not a good thing.
And they're redefining the term ban.
Yeah, what do you got?
Even in classes that teach sexual education, you often have the option to opt your child out, which many parents do. But it was brought to my attention, what's the point? Because the kids who aren't opted out just tell your kids who were opted out about it anyway. So you can't get around it.
I could see sex education as being something that might be okay in the schools. I mean, I can understand that. But the modern stuff about trans...
well, that's what it gets into. That's my point.
Oh, if it gets into that,
modern stuff. So many parents are opting out, but the parents of the children who didn't opt out are saying, it's not even worth it because they're all talking about it anyway after school.
Is there any need to teach or even promote transgender stuff in schools?
Well, and especially as they make it really explicit. I mean, you would blush if you actually read some of these passages. Yeah. And that's the thing. Our education system has collapsed. And we should be focusing on that. We should be outraged on that. These are the future leaders of this country, and they're getting shortchanged. Yet you have people like Randi Weingarten saying that it's all about book bans and we're just trying to, you know, get rid of books in the public school libraries, where, no, it's about inappropriateness.
Nicholas, good stuff. Thank you.